Have you ever noticed how the people we admire, follow, or even vote for often end up being the very ones who disappoint us the most? You might think you're immune to this, that you would never fall for a liar, a manipulator, a fraud. But what if I told you that somewhere deep inside, you're wired to be drawn to them? That even your resistance, your skepticism, has blind spots you don't want to admit? This isn't just about politics. It's about life. The boss you once respected, who now humiliates his team. The charismatic figure who promises change, yet delivers corruption. The influencer who tells you they care, but only cares about their own reflection. Why do we choose tyrants again and again, across centuries, cultures, and even in our personal lives? The answer is not comfortable, because it begins not with them, but with us. Think about the last time you felt powerless. It could be at work, in a relationship, or even in the face of life's chaos. In those moments, what do we crave? Order, stability, someone strong enough to carry the weight we can't. Nietzsche once warned us about this. He called it the slave morality, the tendency of people to value obedience and security over freedom and responsibility. We think freedom is what we want, but freedom is exhausting. Freedom demands that we think, decide, and carry consequences. Tyrants, whether in politics, in families, or even in relationships, relieve us of that burden. We surrender to them not because they force us to, but because it feels easier than standing alone. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that leaders didn't need to be good. They only needed to appear strong. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Why? Because fear stabilizes power. Love is fleeting, fickle. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The tyrant is never born in isolation. They're created in the secret desires of the masses. We don't just tolerate them, we invite them in. Why does the bully become the leader? Why does the narcissist climb the ladder faster than the humble? Because their confidence intoxicates us. Their certainty, even if built on lies, feels safer than our doubts. We look at them and think, finally, someone who knows what they're doing. Even if, deep down, we sense it's an illusion. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the man who stood against Hitler, wrote something chilling. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Why? Because the stupid do not recognize their own powerlessness. They surrender their minds willingly. And once people surrender their minds, no amount of reasoning, no fact, no truth can free them. They will defend the tyrant as if defending themselves. Bonhoeffer understood that tyranny isn't just imposed. It's welcomed by those who can no longer bear the weight of thinking. This is the hidden psychology of power. The tyrant grows in the soil of our passivity. Plato saw it long before Bonhoeffer, long before Machiavelli. In his Republic, he warned that democracy itself, if corrupted, inevitably decays into tyranny. The people, drunk on freedom, demand more and more until chaos erupts. Then, desperate for order, they elevate the one who promises to fix it all. The tyrant is not the destroyer of freedom, but the result of it. Does this sound familiar? Every civilization, every era, has repeated this same tragic dance. We worship freedom until it drowns us, then we beg for chains. But here's the twist you weren't expecting. This isn't about them out there, it's about you. Look at your own life. How many times have you chosen comfort over truth? How many times have you let someone else decide for you because it felt easier? How many times have you defended something or someone, not because they were right, but because admitting you were wrong was unbearable? The tyrant outside is just a reflection of the tyrant we nurture inside. The part of us that longs for certainty, that craves control, that fears responsibility. And when enough of us bow to that inner tyrant, it spills into the world as flesh and blood. But there is another truth. We're not doomed to this cycle. Bonhoeffer himself chose resistance. Nietzsche urged us to embrace the burden of freedom, to create values for ourselves instead of surrendering to those imposed upon us. Plato believed that philosophy, the love of wisdom, was the antidote to tyranny, because wisdom demands we see beyond the illusion of strength. History tells us the tyrant always comes. but also tells us that every tyrant eventually falls. And what remains is the question: will we have the courage to resist before it's too late? So here's the uncomfortable choice you must face. Do you want freedom with all its weight, its doubt, its relentless demand for courage? Or do you want safety with all its chains, its silence, its humiliating surrender? Most people, if they are brutally honest, choose the second. And that is why tyrants thrive. Not because they are strong, but because we are weak. Not because they deceive us, but because we deceive ourselves. But maybe, just maybe, you don't have to. The next time you find yourself drawn to someone's power, stop and ask, am I following them? Or am I fleeing from myself? Because here's the darkest truth of all. Every tyrant in history has needed an army of willing followers. And every one of those followers thought they were choosing safety. But what they really chose was the slow erosion of their own soul. You are not powerless. You do not need someone else to carry your burden. You do not need to surrender your mind for the illusion of stability. The tyrant outside cannot survive without the tyrant inside. And the day you face that truth, the day you stop surrendering your freedom to fear, is the day you no longer need a savior, a master, or a tyrant. The choice has always been yours. The only question is, will you make it? And when the world offers you the false comfort of chains disguised as protection, remember this: it is far better to walk alone in the terrifying light of freedom than to kneel forever in the comfortable darkness of tyranny.